While top 7 cities of India, which include cities like Mumbai, Delhi-NCR, Bengaluru, dominate most of the conversations when it comes to India's housing market, there's something brewing in the next rung of cities, better known as Tier 2 cities. On the Property Show, we put the spotlight on which of these are buzzing and why. Also on the show, Delhi Development Authority or DDA has come out with a new scheme offering 8,500 affordable flats in Narela sub-city Delhi. Now, is this area livable and worth buying a home in? Samir Jasuja, founder and CEO at PropEquity, Pankaj Bajaj, managing director, Eldeco Group, and Murali M, chairman and MD Shriram Properties, join us for the discussion. Samir, today's discussion is based on the PropEquity report, and I'm looking at the top 10 cities. Ahmedabad, of course, tops the list, but my question to you is it a Tier 2 city?
Well, it's considered to be a Tier 2 city mainly because it's still not an IT base as such compared to other Tier 1 cities. Also, lack of elite developers, Tier 1 developers have not entered that city. Most of them are not there. And the pricing in Ahmedabad is still very affordable. That makes it a Tier 2 city at this point in time, although it definitely demands to be in the Tier 1 cities based on the supply, which has over-exceeded many Tier 1 cities over the last 5 years and especially last 1 year as well.
Okay. Very quick question. When I'm looking at the top 10 list again, there are two cities which have really surprised me, Nashik and Vadodara. What's brewing here? And of course, Visakhapatnam, I understand it's an IT hub and growing IT hub, but what's really working for Vadodara and Nashik?
Well, Gujarat and Maharashtra both have been leading in the ease of doing the business since 2015 onwards and always ranked in the top 10. Employment generation has been the number 2 reason as such, besides ease of doing business over there and many companies setting up shop over there. That's why 6 cities out of 10 cities coming from Gujarat and Maharashtra, where our report also suggests that the share of new launches has been 69% and the share of absorption has been 62% over there. So these are the main reasons where Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Nashik, Gandhinagar followed by Jaipur are in the top 5.
All right. Okay, let me come to the missing piece, Pankaj. Now, amongst the listed developers, Eldeco has the highest number of completed projects in Tier 2 cities. Lucknow is one of your key markets, and I'm just surprised that Lucknow didn't make it in the top 10. Was it because there was already a lot of supply there?
I'm surprised myself, but I think I'll put down to the reason that the definition of Tier 2 city that Samir has put out, let me allow me to disagree with that. Let's put Ahmedabad in a Tier 1 city because the kind of volume that Samir's report is showing, it does not qualify as a Tier 2 city. So if you remove those top 2-3 cities from his report, then Lucknow would be amongst the top 10, right?
Okay, so give me your sense. I mean, you've really been one of the developers who's focused, your larger focus is on Tier 2 cities versus Tier 1. Are you seeing any big shift in Tier 2 cities this year?
Not really. I mean, let's not. It's a trend, but it's not an explosion. It's a steady kind of market, and the report clearly says that of the total volume and value of real estate development in the country, and we're talking largely residential here. About, I think before the pandemic, the Tier 2 cities used to be 20%. I would guess it's now 25%. So 20 to 25 does not mean a big change, but for that 20%, it's a big change, and it's a part of, and also the market size itself is growing. I think going forward, that 25% could go to as much as 30%. But it's not that there's a real estate explosion happening in Tier 2 cities. It's a steady market. There's an organic demand, but from the ground, the big takeaway is that there's a clear desire for bigger and better homes. But that's true for the entire country right now. But it's also so for Tier 2 because quality real estate development is not there. So there's a real hunger and real desire for upgrading a house. So I think that trend is going to continue for the next many years.
Many years. Okay.
So there will be cycles, but I think the fundamental demand is very, very strong.
All right. Murali, so, I'm looking at your portfolio and yes, largely concentrated in Chennai and Bengaluru, but you also are present in two tier 2 cities, Visakhapatnam and Coimbatore. Would you agree with Pankaj that, all right, so here's a market which is growing and growing faster because there is this desire to upgrade in your quality of living, but there is no big tectonic shift that we can see right now?
Yeah, I don't see any big shift happening to tier 2, tier 3 cities today. If you look at India, map it now, 80% of the demand coming from tier 1 cities, basically top 9 cities in the country. Remaining 20% in tier 2, tier 3 and all that. So this is not the way India can grow today. And that will be missed the greatest opportunity of COVID. Last 2 years, people around shifted from tier 1 to tier 2 cities. We should have locked in them there. We should have created a nice atmosphere, ecosystem for them to stay there and probably we should have shifted office. But unfortunately, nothing has happened. People, when they work from home got over, they were all in a rush to move to tier 1 cities, which is not good for the country as a whole. Why is it not happening? See, Ahmedabad is one such example. You rightly asked whether it's a tier 2 or tier 1. I would put maybe around the 9 tier 1 cities. Ahmedabad also should step into tier 1 city. So could be a 10 city getting added to the list on tier 1. Other than that, if you look at all other areas, rather depleting, which is a very kind of a discouragement for the developers like us, and it's not good for the country also. If you look at even Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Surat, Nashik and all that, if you look at those cities, it is all growing because of the industrial growth which is taking place in that area or economic growth in that area. On the other hand,
Murali, exactly. But the cities that you're present in, Coimbatore and Visakhapatnam, there seems to be an IT boom there. I mean, there is a considerable shift of some IT companies who want to be in smaller cities because of the cost advantage, and South India, even smaller cities have the IT talent.
Yes, that's the truth. But the industrial growth which has not taken place, the space which has to take place. It's a marginal increase which is happening here and there. This cities that is growing 30% year on year. Tier 2 cities are growing less than 2% year on year. That is not the case. In fact, it has to be reversed. See, tier 2, tier 3 should grow at least 20-30%, so that they can do the decongestion and the population control and all that. Otherwise, you not have even the problem of the floods in Bangalore. If at all Bangalore has been managed, if the entire tier 2, tier 3 cities are being given trust, Bangalore would not have got into difficulties. So it is not a question of Bangalore, it is a question of other cities which is not addressed properly.
Okay. So what you're saying is, Murali, I get that. So would you agree with that, Pankaj, that tier 2 cities, we need actually growth to move much more there, and that will only come where there's a commensurate infrastructure growth, isn't it? And social and physical. So tell me, what's the pace of physical and social infrastructure in the cities that you're present? And you're there in Ludhiana, you're there in Sonipat, Panipat, Lucknow, lots of these North India cities, which we are hoping will have great infrastructure one day.
So it's a mixed bag, Manisha. So Lucknow is a shining example. The infrastructure can match anywhere in the country. It's a great, on the infrastructure front, great things are happening in Lucknow. Not so great things happening in some of the other tier 2 cities. I mean, it's the pace of urbanization is still, the pattern of urbanization is still chaotic in some of these cities. Now, as a developer, that's an opportunity because the market is not able to supply the kind of housing or the other amenities that a person wants. But for the city, it's not a great report. So, say a Panipat or a Ludhiana but another shining example in North India is the Chandigarh Tri-City area. Again, great infrastructure. Mohali, Jaipur is good infrastructure. So, as I said, it's a mixed bag. And I hope that things work out better on the municipal front and the infrastructure front for some of these cities to really aspire to the next Ahmedabad.
Okay.
But what cannot be denied is the demand, which is a real demand for quality housing in these, and not only quality housing. Retail is another sector where I think there's a great demand, unmet demand in many of these cities. I think you can put up a quality mall in any of these cities or even in some of the tier 3 cities, and there is a demand for that.
All right.
So the one sector where I think the demand is weak is office. So there's no unless there is job creation, there won't be any office demand.
Big
But
office
residential demand and retail demand, in spite of poor infrastructure, is quite strong. It has to be met, and if we do not meet it in a formal, organized way, it is going to be met in an the whole story is going to get repeated, the unauthorized developments and all that.
Of
So I
course.
hope that we do put our acts together as developers, town planners, all the stakeholders.
and get
So-
that going. And Murali made a very important point. How much will big cities take? There is a pressure which is building up and which is combusting a city like Bengaluru. Samir, coming back to you, how do you see, you said, look, none of the large developers or let's say what you consider as national developers are present in Ahmedabad, and therefore you've slotted it as tier 2 city. But my question is, there's Eldeco, there's Shriram, but they're not parking all their money in tier 2 cities, right? Do you believe that now is the time probably for, let's say, a Tata or a Mahindra or a Godrej to look at tier 2 cities, or do you think they will continue to focus on tier 1?
We did some other reports on tier 2 cities and compared them with tier 1 cities. The most important thing which we noticed was that the pricing in tier 2 cities with respect to demand is gone up to around 4,000 rupees a square feet to 6,000 rupees a square feet, which used to be mostly under 2,500 rupees a square feet. So,
are you taking Ahmedabad or are you keeping Ahmedabad out of it?
I'm keeping Ahmedabad in also, in
Okay.
tier 2 cities.
Okay.
So in that case, what is happening is that the tier 1 developers are mostly focusing on price points upwards of 6,000 rupees a square feet. So I still don't see them coming into tier 2 cities in a big way. Although the price movement has happened because of cost of construction going up and developers having slightly raised prices from, as I said, 2,500 rupees to 3,500 rupees a square foot. But the pricing does not permit tier 1 developers to want to come into those cities because they are focusing on tier 1 cities. And guess there's one more thing that I'd like to add over here, that the absorption for the first time in tier 1 cities is going to touch 4 lakh units, with supply touching about 3 lakh units. So there is ample and more opportunity in tier 1 cities for the tier 1 developers to look at, where the absorption has overtaken supply in a big way, that they are not going to look at tier 2 cities, at least in the near future.
Murali, how will you pan out your growth in the next few years between tier 1 and tier 2?
Our focus will continue to be in tier 1 now, not on tier 2. In fact, Coimbatore and Vizag, in fact, we are reducing further volume in the tier markets. But tier 1, Bengaluru, Chennai, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Pune will expand. So this is where our growth will be. There is a good potential for us also to grow significantly. We can achieve close to about 30-35% year-on-year growth, and also volume speaks a lot. So hence, also the profitability is much superior compared to tier 2 cities. So hence, our focus will be in the next 5 years' time, mainly on these tier 1 cities, not much on tier 2 cities, unless there is a big infrastructure push happening in tier 2. Unless people start shifting, which, as I said, COVID was the biggest opportunity for us to populate tier 2, tier 3, which we missed this opportunity. So I don't know whether we can get another opportunity to populate tier 2, tier 3, which I doubt in the next 3-4 years' time.
All right. I think we'll end it there, but we've got some of the best insights. Okay, so tier 2 cities demand remains strong, but it's not as if they're swinging in an extremely positive territory or taking away large chunks of businesses from tier 1. In fact, the price appreciation in tier 2 cities continues to be modest, between 6 to 8% as shown by the PropEquity figures. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today.
I'll just give you one thing, another input, Manisha, which is very relevant. I think
Go ahead.
the audience will know this. Tier 2, if you take, you see the report, 3,500 is the average price. When somebody buys a 3,500 rupees a square foot product, close to about 35 to 40% goes towards just the taxes, GST, stamp duty, and lighting expenditure. On a 3,500 rupees square feet, somebody is buying, let's say, 1,000 square foot, 35 lakhs, 40% of his cost goes towards taxes. So it is unaffordable, which is not right. Unless government takes a view, okay, tier 2 cities, there is no GST. I will not charge 18% GST on the construction input. I will not put 5%. I will not put stamp duty of 8%, 11%. If government takes a call, yes, we need to promote tier 2 cities, for which
Murali, we can live in hope. We can live in hope. We've been talking about this for many years since GST has happened, but thank you very much for making that point. I've completely run out of time, but thanks again. Of course, Samir Jasuja stays with us because when we come back, we look at a sharp analysis of Delhi Development Authority's latest 8,500 affordable flat scheme in Narela in the outskirts of Delhi.